Recording. Hi, everybody. We are here on the new normal with my friend CryptoRich. Excited to have him join me and help me support and build up my new channel since we were deplatformed off YouTube and looking for some solutions. Rich, thanks so much for being here and helping me try to rebuild. It means a lot to be supported by the crypto community. So how are you doing today? You're in the UK, correct?
I am in the UK, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Well, I just appreciate your help so much and your support. You have a really strong channel, and I've already learned. I was checking out your channel, and I've already learned some stuff just this morning, reading into the app. Were you part of creating that app that
No,
you can add the exchanges? That's just another treasure you found on your journey.
no, I got approached by the company a few weeks ago. If we just say something about that, because for people who are watching, this is free. It's completely free. And the affiliate link, which is bit.ly/Atani Crypto Rich, which is free. Even if you don't use that link, it's free. It's a really great app, which means that you don't have to keep going from this exchange to that exchange and this exchange and that exchange, because you can connect them through the app to do your buying and your selling and your charting, and it's completely free. The coins and tokens stay on the exchanges, and all the app does is just it's an integrated interface that connects them all.
And you don't give them your password to your
Nope.
account. So it's really safe. We've looked into it this morning. I'll have the link in the description below so you guys can check it out and see if that's something that's helpful to you. But it was really cool. So when did you first hear about cryptocurrency and how did that kind of come about?
Oh my gosh. I am very big into personal development, really big into personal development. And I've actually led personal development training seminars and stuff and done some myself. And in about 2011, I was doing a course about money. And the course wasn't like, oh, do this with your money, do that with your money, invest here, do that. Or it wasn't like that. It was more like, if I ask you this question, Lisa, what is it about you and your money and your attitudes and beliefs about money that is hidden from your view? What is it about you and money that you cannot see? So,
It depends
oh,
on what you're talking about, what you're calling money, I guess. Do you mean like the
just generally understood money,
just money?
just money as people generally, but you see, you can't answer that question because anything you say isn't hidden from your view,
Well, good point.
right? But what it got me thinking about is like, well, what can I not see? What do I not know about money?
Hmm.
And it's a very provocative thought. And one of the things that occurred to me in the course is, I don't know where it comes from. I wasn't taught that at school. We're never taught that. What is money? Who decides that this has value and that doesn't? Where does it come from? So I started digging into it, like how it's designed and created and invented, and learned about fractional reserve currency and gold and silver. And along the way, there's this thing called Bitcoin. Now, this was in 2012, late 2012, I came across Bitcoin. And there was very little information about it. And what there was, I didn't know how to find it and stuff. And I thought, okay, I'll buy some. So I didn't buy any until I knew about it when it was $5. I waited till it tripled in value before I bought any at $15.
Wow.
And I bought some off a guy in a pub because I had no idea about a wallet or anything. Right? We met. I found him on local Bitcoins. We met. I gave him cash. He helped me set up a wallet on blockchain.com, which was then blockchain.info, and the Bitcoin turned up. And then I just left it. And then in 2015, I looked at it again every now and then. Oh, it's gone up a bit. And then late 2015, I got more a bit interested. And then again in late 2016, I got more interested. I bought into some others, Ethereum and Dash and Monero and Bitcoin. And then I started my channel in April 2017. And in the background is because I am now again a child protection social worker. And I don't have a pension. There's no pension. We don't earn a lot. We don't, it's a labor of love.
It is. And
So
high turnover rate in child services because of the amount of stress.
Yeah.
Because you never are not working. I'm sure that you're always thinking about the children that you're protecting.
Yeah, yeah, that's very funny you say that because I was thinking about this family that may be evicted by this ruthless landlord,
Oh,
and I'm working with them. Went to see them on Friday and stuff. Right? Like, okay, I hope they're okay. So sorry, Thursday. But so that was okay. If I use cryptocurrencies, I can secure my family's financial future because otherwise there's no pension, nothing. So I started my channel because I was like, how can I get into this? How can I get into this? And then I've been pretty much posting regularly ever since. I post most days a week. I had I took off all my videos in January 2020 because I got a second lot of strikes and deletions from YouTube, and I was scared they were going to delete my channel. So I took everything off. So the videos that are on now are only go back to January 2020 when I started uploading again. And mine is a project-based channel, so I don't do news updates. I get connected to particular projects, and I keep covering them and covering them and covering them and covering them. So that's another reason, I suppose, why my channel hasn't grown, because I don't do news reports. I don't cover projects because they're popular. I cover projects because I'm connected to them.
Yeah,
And I like them.
about that project and then following them.
Yeah.
It was really interesting. I mean, there were several videos this morning where I was looking through and finding projects I hadn't heard of, and their different use cases, and how they improve the whole crypto structure. So I think it's really valuable what you're doing on your channel. So I'm going to keep watching for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I know we're gonna have another video where I'm going to talk about um, projects that enhance privacy and freedom, and that's a particular interest of mine: privacy and freedom, because you can't have freedom without privacy. And in the way the world is going right now, in terms of the authoritarianism, and the invasion and intrusion of our privacy, especially with these vaccine passports that they're talking about in the UK and other places.
Right.
We have to preserve our privacy in order to preserve our freedom.
Yeah, it's just insane. I think everywhere, and this whole the passport thing, I think is just incredible to me. The irony that they're telling people it will give you your freedom, when actually the whole idea of it is enslaving you or locking you down. That you're not, as soon as you agree to that passport, you're beholden to it, and
Yeah.
you submit to that. So you're actually trapping yourself by not free. But they're giving this whole, oh, if you're fully, taken care of and have this passport, then you have freedom. And it's just the absolute opposite. So definitely need to keep speaking out and finding those freedom platforms. And I think that's part of, since losing my channel and trying to rebuild, I'm really putting the work in, and I admit, like, I got lazy because it was working and it was easy, and I knew about other platforms, and I'm on Library and Odyssey, and but I really wasn't doing the hard work to find more decentralized platforms, and then doing the uploading and trying to learn how to stream with the stream keys, and like on Theta and Theta TV and things like that. So now I'm really driven to find those things. And I think that people are going to get to the same point where they're, how much do they have to be pushed? How much lockdown gets somebody to stand up? At what point do they say no?
Mm.
So I'm hoping we're getting close to that no point. I know things are very different in the UK. You guys have been on some pretty harsh lockdowns. We're
Oh,
already starting to reopen in America. There's been several states that have said, no, we're not doing this. No more mask mandate. And trying to open up. Are you having any of that there?
no, there is a small, I don't know how large it is. There's a growing protest movement against the lockdown. But part of the problem is that we don't have a written constitution, I think, like you do in the US. So there's nothing to go back on because it's an organic, evolving constitution that constantly changes. Plus, also, Um, the lockdown, from whoever's designed it and is implementing this or whatever, from their perspective, it's bloody genius. It's really, really genius. From my perspective, it's evil,
Right.
right? But for whoever's pulling the strings and stuff, it is genius because all the ways that people can associate can't do that anymore. That you can't have people getting together in political meetings. You don't have people getting together in pubs. You don't have people getting together in churches or other places of worship. You don't have people getting together in social clubs, restaurants. So there's no way that people can associate freely.
Right. And what do
People,
they do to their victims? They isolate them.
yeah.
And that's
Oh,
the
oh,
government
Lisa,
to us.
Lisa, I work as a child protection social worker, and I can say to you that how the UK government and other governments are acting out is like perpetrators of domestic abuse.
I could.
It is evil. You are keeping you isolated from your friends and family, keeping you financially dependent, telling you what to wear, promising you rewards and treats if you're good,
Yeah.
promising of better times tomorrow, or I'll change, or we'll do this, and then it will be better.
Mm.
And then keep changing the goalposts, nonsensical rules that have no logic to them, and then prolonging. And then one of the things I encounter this regularly as a child protection social worker, working with women who are being abused, and how the perpetrators get inside the women's heads and mess them up. So the women lose all confidence and belief in themselves, and they don't stand up, and they say to me things like, oh, but he never hurts the kids, or he really, really cares for us. So I hear, all right, and I see parallels in that with how people regard the British government or perhaps other governments elsewhere. Look, they're looking out for us. It's a really difficult job. No, they are trampling on your freedom. They are robbing you of your agency.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and hopefully more and more people all across the world will get to that point where I can hear that rage in your voice where you're saying this is enough and you're being lied to and I'm being lied to and I'm done with it. And so there are some groups here that are trying to kind of organize and empower people and giving them lawful, peaceable options to, be able to push back and inspire the government. I also see this being very much the constitutional education of America specifically. I mean, we're watching where the pretendency is issuing these rules about guns and different things, and the states are standing up for themselves and saying no.
Mm.
And that's really where they've flipped the power on its head, because it was always supposed to be the Constitution, and all of that was to protect the individual's rights, not to give rights to the person. It was to restrict the government. And so it just has gotten completely like an abusive relationship, gotten flipped on its head, and the government is not serving the people anymore. It's lording over the people. So I
Well,
think we're hope.
Lisa, I got to say, I'm jealous and envious of certain states. South Dakota, Florida, Texas now, and then Wisconsin. They got rid of the mask mandate. Court ruled that it was unconstitutional. It's, at least in the US, you've got pockets, areas of where people are free to make choices and determinations over their own, over their own lives.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to mask up and socially distance, go knock yourself out. Go live in California or New Jersey or New York, right? If you actually want to enjoy the sunshine on your face and walk hand in hand and see your parents and your grandparents, well, Florida and Texas.
Well, and Oklahoma never had a mask mandate. Here's the talk about getting in your head and the psychological op that all of this is that Oklahoma never had a mask mandate, which they shouldn't have, statewide. But then cities would vote to have a mask mandate or not. And so it's supposed to be the local government that is serving and supporting the ideas of the people. So I guess some cities got together and said, yes, we want a mask mandate. And they had that mask mandate. So that was probably a more accurate depiction of how the Constitution was supposed to be run. But at the same time, like in my city, the mask mandate expired and they voted not to extend it. And everyone's still wearing a mask. And I'm like, didn't you hear? And that, well, we're not sure, I mean, it's just this lack of interest of what's going on. People say, oh, I'm not involved in politics. Well, a pandemic has nothing to do with politics, or shouldn't, but it has. And I think that's where people have really gotten misled.
I disagree with you there, Lisa. And I disagree with you from a different perspective. See, I don't think there's any separation of politics from normal life. If politics is the exercise of power, see, that Florida or South Dakota never had a mask man, never had lockdown or anything. That was a political act. That New York had the restricted lockdowns that it did, and it still has. That's a political act. That DeSantis said no second lockdown, we're not doing it again. That's a political act. So even people wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, I think is a political act. And I suppose, if people want to wear masks, well, go ahead, knock yourselves out. Don't breathe fresh air. Up to you.
Right.
But it's that thing where I think it's got inside your head, because everything we're being told about this isn't good for our health. What is good for our health is sunshine, fresh air, associating with family and friends, very, very good for health, mental health, emotional health, social health, immune system, exercise, having a regular income, because not having that elevates stress levels and that weakens your immune system. So all the advice we're given is really bad for our health.
Right. Yeah, I guess my point was, I think I misspoke, but I was saying that the people that say, I don't want to get involved with politics, so they think it doesn't affect them. Whether you like it or not, politics affect you, because this is affecting every part of your life. You can't say, well, I don't get involved in politics. Well, whether you do or don't, your politics is affecting your life.
Okay, I misunderstood.
Well, that's okay. I may have misspoke, but that's what I was trying to say is like, that's why it's so important for people to turn and look at this stuff. And, let's have some critical thinking. Let's all realize it's not our job to sit on our hands. We all need to have a voice, and we need to use our voice to guide our leaders, guide our public servants into doing what it is that the people want. So I did see an article this morning about that Spain has now issued that you have to wear a mask when swimming in the sea. And I just thought, at what point is this so ridiculous? Like, what does it have to get to that the masses will stand up and wake up? What do you see there being a point where people will say, I've had enough, and be done with this?
I think it will be. I saw something the other day that according to the MI5, that people are 4 meals away from rioting.
Wow.
If they don't have meals for like 4 occasions in a row, that they're that desperate, that hungry, what else can they do? And then I think, well, okay, that's okay for the middle classes. Because I'm fortunate we have a fully stocked fridge. We could probably go longer than 4 days.
Right.
But for the families that I work with, in particular, the most distressed, disadvantaged demographic of all, some of them don't have food for 4 days. And then there was an article on Zero Heads the other day about the first lockdown in India, how brutal it was. And they've just imposed a second lockdown in the city of Lahore in Pakistan, a population of 12.6 million people, 17 deaths in a 24-hour period. So they locked the city down. 17 deaths out of 12.6 million people. And then who's going to eat it are the day laborers,
right?
The ones who live a hand-to-mouth existence. So what can they do? They got to earn money in order to eat. And then if they're not allowed to, well, they're going to sit quietly at their homes and just starve to death? No, they're going to take to the streets. And then what are you going to have? You're going to have increased repression and brutality by the police.
No, I really want to hope that, the police are going to be affected by this as well. And I could see, I don't know that, like, especially here in America, we have a sheriff's department, which they take an oath to the Constitution.
Mhm.
And so I don't see the sheriff who took an oath to the Constitution standing up. I see them standing beside the people that are saying, you're violating our rights.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, the sheriff system is very good from what I know about it, right? Because they're democratically, locally elected, and they have a lot of power because they can refuse entry to federal agents and say, no, you're not coming in here because my job is to protect the Constitution and the people that I serve, right?
yeah.
We have that in the UK. We don't have that it's not there in Pakistan or India or anything, right? But one of the things, and I think I want to bring it back to cryptocurrencies and money and stuff, right? One of the things that the lockdown serves is it slows down the velocity of money. So you don't have money moving through the economy so quickly.
Which is why
Which,
they're doing the stimulus. They're trying to get that money moving again.
well, sort of ish, it means you've got more time to keep printing
Hmm.
because hyperinflation is not going to show up so quickly
I see what you're saying.
because the velocity of money is not so fast, right? So you've got more time to keep printing the money, more time to to grab more wealth
Hmm.
from the populace, and then more time to put in structures of control like the vaccine passport until it all falls apart.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely think this was all planned. There's just too much pointing to it, and we knew the death of the dollar was coming. They kicked it down the road since 2008. Then we get into, on actually on DJT Day on 4/10/20 was the day that the petro went negative, and there was a huge thing about it. And it's like they just kind of swept it under the rug and said, "Oh, we'll take care of it later," you know. And now some of those agreements or corrections are those relationships are breaking down with who we have supposedly in the White House right now. So
Yes.
yeah, I think it is a big cover up for the death of the dollar. Um,
And not just the dollar, I think, because same with the euro. I mean, and the British pound, because they're all printing, and the euro is the EU is in such terrible shape as far as I can tell. It's completely dysfunctional, completely dysfunctional because it has no viability. The southern European states are completely impoverished. They've all lost out as the northern European states have leached the wealth from Greece and Italy and Spain in order to enrich themselves. A little bit like what's happened, with the 0.1% grabbing everything for themselves all over the world.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Northern Europeans enriching themselves off the back of the southern Europeans.
Interesting.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So is the euro or I don't have a lot of knowledge about the UK dollar. Is that um, part of the Federal Reserve System?
It's part of the central banking system.
I'm sorry, central banking system.
It
Yeah.
is part of the central banking system. The British pound is independent sovereign, not part of the euro. It's not we don't have the euro in Britain. We have the pound.
Oh,
We retain that.
and the pound is part of the central banking system as well, or no?
Bank of England. Yep, part of the central banking system. Was it the countries that aren't part of the central banking system? Russia,
Okay.
China, Syria, Iran, and North Korea.
Really?
All the bad countries, those bad, evil, axis of evil countries. and then I think, I mean, Lisa, I think what Putin has done for Russia is just incredible, absolutely incredible.
Well, I think it's the same thing that we had with Trump. People are so busy, well, he's a brash jerk that rides on a big horse with his shirt off, so they don't like him, you know. But then when you look at his actions and what he's done for the country and the people, you know, I would so much rather someone judge me by my actions than my behaviors, I guess. So,
If he wants to ride a horse bare chested, well, good luck to him. I don't think he's violating any laws or anything, right?
offend,
Right, but he,
he's, you know, offended someone. Um,
yes, yes.
Well, so what are you seeing? Because I have a friend that knows somebody in Turkey, and then we have other connections with people. One of my best friends, her family's from Brazil, and so things are happening really differently in different parts of the world. In Turkey, they're having very severe lockdowns. You can't leave your home or you'll be arrested. In the UK, it sounds like you're still out, even though there's lockdowns. You're still out working and trying to help those families. So what's allowed to be out and not out, and how are families that are being locked down getting food to them? Is that something the
Well,
government
it
is?
is easing. I mean, supermarkets were always open, and now it's becoming easier and stuff. But you know, the families that I work, I'm a key worker as a social worker, so I can travel about freely. But people do that anyway, and we're not yet at the state where we have police at every single junction and point asking for papers. So I don't think I've never been stopped by the police in a year or anything as I'm cycling about or going about in my car. But you are allowed to go. There are certain legitimate reasons why you can go out. But the families that I visit, they're not monitoring the rules. And some of them are, and some of them have been limited by, you know, I'm working with a couple who are separated. They've got a 6-year-old girl who's got autism, and they've got no support.
Wow.
We got no support because the charities won't come and visit. The charity support has gone. They can't use their grandparents. Often, these families because of COVID.
Right.
You know,
Well, and I know a lot of the charities have been affected here just, you know, because of the economic um, effects that we've had from this. People aren't working, or they're being laid off, or their hours are being reduced, or you know, for whatever reasons. And so if they're not making income, I guess like you're talking about that velocity of money, then they're not spending it. They're also not donating it right now. So then that really limits what the charities are able to do as well. So that's pretty heartbreaking to hear. And I do see that situation where you're talking about, like, at some point the desperation is that my child's hungry. What am I going to do about it? It's not going to be something that you just sit by and let happen. So it's going to be really interesting these next few months, I guess, um, to see what happens in the world. But um, what in the back to your cryptocurrency journey? So you started building your channel, but you obviously have this like huge heart for community and what you do professionally. Do you see there being some kind of connection or overlap or way that you could kind of bring those two strengths and loves together?
I haven't seen a way. I mean, I have covered some projects which I think do good. You know, some of the projects that are connected to Electronium. Electronium is connected to various NGOs that support women and girls and people in the third world. So I've covered those. I haven't worked out how to do it personally myself. And the families that I work with are so distressed. They're so distressed. It's like the whole notion of even saying, look, go put 10 pounds or 50 pounds if you have it spare in Bitcoin. One is they don't have that kind of money spare.
Right.
Two, what's Bitcoin for them? And three, I'd be stepping outside of my bounds, I think, as a child protection social worker.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand that. One of the best books I read when I was doing a lot of nonprofit work, and well, even before then, I was helping to coordinate micromissions for my church, and we would go into impoverished areas and inner city and try to build community, build relationships, because that's what's enduring. Or, you know, you can give people something one time, but I learned really some difficult lessons about how poverty culture thinks differently than middle class culture, than wealthy culture and how they value things differently. And so if you like solutions that made sense for me, I would try to apply to this family I had just met. And like they had a daughter who would have seizures if it got up to a certain, over a certain temperature in the house. So we went and bought him a window air conditioning unit. And
Mhm.
we go back to check on him the next week, and the air conditioning unit's gone. And she's like, oh, well, I needed diapers and milk. And I was like, why didn't you call me and let me help with diapers and milk? But they don't value things the way they value relationships. She didn't want to upset me and break my relationship because she wanted to continue to be able to survive by having a relationship and helping. And so there's a book called The Framework of Understanding Poverty by Ruby Payne. I don't know if you've ever read it. It's brilliant. And the whole book, I mean, it helps so much because one culture is not more or less than another.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people, when they get involved or they hear these stories about maybe some families you even work with, they talk about, well, oh, they don't have enough money to take care of that child. And, these middle class people think, well, I could do that so much better because I can offer them, new clothes and a car and school and whatever. Well, let's back up and let's go a rung up or over and not up. But what if the wealthy came into your house and said, oh, you're middle class, you can only pay for these kind of clothes or this kind of house? Well, I could provide your child to travel all over the world, and I can do this and teach them that and have writing lessons and whatever. So it's not, that was a big education when we worked with volunteers, because they were putting their eyes on these people's lives and having a lot of judgment about the poverty culture. And we had to help them see that it's a culture and a way of life, and you can show someone another way of life, but they may not choose that. They may value different things, and that doesn't make them more or less than you. And we can still help each other within that when you see someone, suffering or struggling. But I think that whole understanding the culture side of it, and then seeing there still are needs, many needs, in that we can still help without demeaning or talking down to, and also giving them like sustainable solutions, not just come in and dump a bunch of things and leave and you feel good and then you've left this person in the dust. And so in your work, what do you see as being the most important thing for these families that you work with to help them get out of that dire situation?
Wow. The families I deal with are way more distressed than that. I'm dealing with, there's one, I got a 2-year-old girl and that I'm working with. Her mother was brought up in a care home, not even foster home, but a care home. Where workers come in on 8-hour shifts or 12-hour shifts,
Okay.
and then they go, right? And that was her life. She met this guy who was also in a care home. They get together, they're in a relationship. They've got no template for parenting. They were both brought up in care homes. And now they've got this 2-year-old daughter. And the two of them, the mum and the dad, they fight and argue. They fight and argue. So there's, just too much aggression, constant shouting, fighting and everything. And the 2-year-old girl, here's something that people don't get. I think you would get it, Lisa, because of your experience and background. But I find people think that if mum and dad, and usually dad, beats on mum, and the kids are asleep, and dad never does anything to harm the kids, he is in all other respects a good dad, apart from the fact that he beats on mum, they think it's okay. What people don't get is that's dad beating on mum, even when the kids are sleeping, is as abusive as if dad was directly abusing the children. Produces the same harm.
I agree completely.
I mean, it just shows up. You take a 16-year-old who's got criminal record, promiscuity, drug use, alcohol use, completely dysfunctional in relationships, anger issues. What happened to them? What happened? Were they sexually abused? Possibly. Were they physically abused? Possibly. Were they emotionally abused or neglected? Possibly. Or was it that they were just exposed to domestic abuse between their parents? It could be any one of those.
But you're saying the modeling is so important, even if it's not, even if they don't see the abuse directly, that modeling during the day and then setting those standards. And like the one couple,
It's actually, I think it's actually more direct than that, Lisa.
mm,
It's not the modeling, because the dad can be fine with the mum all day long in front of the kids, absolutely fine. But when you're asleep, when the kids are asleep, then the dad becomes a demon, right? So it's not the modeling. What happens is when we're asleep, our brain still picks up sound. Doesn't necessarily wake us, but the brain picks up sound. And so the brain registers what's going on in the room next door, the screams of mother. And the child is terrified.
so the subconscious is
By it.
still experiencing the violence.
Absolutely, because the brain picks it up. And then it just terrifies children, because their access to surviving and making it in life through infancy and childhood is their parents. And it just distresses them to see their mother being beaten and abused like this. So they don't form healthy emotional templates. The limbic brain doesn't form properly, and the limbic brain is the foundation for the neocortex that does all the advanced level thinking that makes us human.
Mm-hmm.
They just messed up.
Yeah, if they're constantly in that fear response state, then
Yeah,
can stunt your emotional growth, your cognitive levels. I mean,
everything,
all.
everything. So anyway, now the dad's out of the picture, and I'm now working with the mother, because the last thing I want to do is to remove the child.
Right.
But if it is like, there isn't much room here, because I don't want this girl being damaged anymore, this 2-year-old girl. So somehow what I got to do, and I don't know how effectively I do this, but somehow, kind of like work side to side with the mother, so that she experiences it as partnership, that I'm on her side. Because the best thing for that little girl, is to stay with her mummy and to thrive with her mummy. Yeah. But if she ain't going to thrive with her mummy, because mummy ain't going to do what she needs to do, I'm sorry, it'll be adoption, and then mummy will
safety.
Yeah, mummy will never see her baby ever again until the baby's 18.
If then, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's heartbreaking. I mean, I admire you so much for what you're doing. I have a lot of friends after all the years that I've been involved with foster care and adoption that are caseworkers, and I've watched them and heard stories and tried to help in different situations, and the turnover is incredible because the amount of stress that you're under. So then exponentially during this time when we have this illness going on around the world, I can imagine that's really affecting caseworkers, on just a whole nother level, and their families. So,
Lisa, I mean, I get impacted. I I remember one call I had that I had to investigate from a school. A 7-year-old boy had told his best friend something in the playground. The best friend told the teacher. Thank heavens for the best friend. The teacher called children's services, and then I was the one who dealt with this. The night before, the dad had whipped his son, his 7-year-old boy, with an electric flex, with the plug still attached. The plug end. Who does that?
Oh.
Who does that? And so, it's just hearing that is like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then I wonder about the dad. What kind of childhood did he have? That he thinks that that's an acceptable way to parent a child.
And that doesn't excuse that behavior, but you just...
Not at all. Not at all. He's got to deal with the consequences.
Yeah. This history of broken people, and that's what you're doing, is making such a difference in helping children please get back together, make good choices, and helping kids have a bright future. So I really admire you so much for that. I know we were supposed to be talking about crypto, but my heart is really so much for kids in foster care and in those situations. So as soon as you mentioned that you're a caseworker, I was like, oh, okay, I'll I'll try to keep it about cryptocurrency, but I hope everyone will go and spend some time checking out CryptoRich's channel. Like I said, there's just this morning we found 2 new tools to help us with our crypto journey. And I think it's a really valuable channel, and I'm really grateful for you to help me try to get myself back on track as well and grow our YouTube channel. So if you guys can do me a favor and like and share this video, subscribe if you're not already, and make sure you share this video so that we get more of this word out there and have more people join us for these kind of conversations that are going to be the ones that help people feel empowered to stand up and make a change in their own community. So do you have, I like to end my little crypto journeys with, do you have a crypto dream or goal that we can kind of end on?
Do I have a crypto? Well, I suppose there's the pre-lockdown dream or goal that I had. Right now, the crypto goal or dream that I have is just, can we just end this nonsense? Can we just stop?
Absolutely.
Could the government stop being fascists? Could they just cut out the authoritarian, tyrannical rule? Could the UK go back to being the UK and less like North Korea or Saudi Arabia or China? There was something that happened. I'm not particularly religious, Lisa, right? Can you?
It's okay.
All right. I'm not particularly religious, right? But there was something on Good Friday where a church in London, the police came in to break up a Good Friday service. And I was like, what has happened? What has happened? And then there's something, for me, it's like, for the faithful, for believers, whether they're Muslim or Christian or Jewish or Hindu or whatever, right?
Right.
What's more important to them is the law of God,
Right.
rather than man-made law by government. How repressive does a government have to be to get between a relationship between a human being and their God? No, you don't get to do that. You don't get to do that.
Absolutely don't get to do that. And that's where so many people have misunderstood and twisted the whole separation of church and state here in America. There's, and I won't get into a whole nother thing, but that's also been turned on its head. That doesn't mean, the separation of church and state does not mean that you can't talk about God or bring God or make your choices for your God or your religion into the space of politics. It means politics cannot come into your religion. But it's been flipped on, all of this is just so upside down right now. So maybe that's another point people will, I know that Polish church was the one that you're talking about, and it was really inspiring. And this man was just straight out, mostly calmly, but telling him, get out, leave right now. How dare you get out,
That was the church in Alberta, I think it was. I saw a clip.
Oh, okay.
That was Alberta, where the pastor was saying to the 6 officers who turned up, get out, get out, get out, get out. Mm-hmm. No Gestapo here. No Nazi Gestapo here. Get out. Come back if you have a warrant. If you have a warrant, go get a warrant and come back. But other than get out, get out, get out, get out. No Nazis here.
Yeah, that's what we need. More of that. More of that.
Anyway, back to the crypto dream. I suppose I would, it's a good question actually, but you know what I would want? Satoshi Nakamoto's vision of decentralization made real for people. Decentralization, right. Grassroots empowerment.
The true peer-to-peer.
True peer-to-peer, people having agency over their own lives.
In every aspect, then.
In every aspect, that they can work it out without authoritarian, tyrannical rule. The end of central banking.
I'm with you on that for sure. What a beautiful dream. I love that. And I think that's a great way to end the show. You guys, please go find my friend at CryptoRich on YouTube and check out some of his videos. He's got a lot of knowledge to share, and you will definitely gain something. So we'll see you guys next time on The New Normal.